Welcome again to Action College. I'm here to give you an exciting course of English. From today, we are gonna see many things, but related to how you can sound fluently if you are in a conversation with someone. Maybe you can be showing like your habits, something you know to do, something you are familiar with, something you know. Those things you are going to discuss about it in this video. So be ready to be with me until to the end. I'm sure that you get something from this course of English. So now we are going to see those three words, and most of the time in English they confuse it. They don't know how to use it. First, use the to. The second, be used the to, and get used the to. Most of the time, people don't know exactly where to use these three words. But today, you're going to know how you can use these three words correctly. So, you know, at Action College, we teach English, and it is very good to study with us, and you can be fluent, and you can be articulate in English. And now you do not sound like a beginner in English, right? Because you are getting something so improved. So let's see how you can use those things. Of course, I will explain details and examples. Let's get started. First, we are going to see how to use the to. So you can ask yourself most of the time how I can use the to. And you can sometimes confuse it because some people use it in the present and used it in the past. But you can see how you are going to use it correctly from today. For example, usage, first we use it for the past habits or something you think that is a state of the past, but it's no longer true. So that's why we are going to see it clearly. For example, you can use it with this structure. You can just say subject, use the to plus base verb. So from today, you're going to see how we are going to create a good sentence using use the to. First, for example, I can say I used to live in Kigali, but now I live in Rwamagana. So this is an example of Rwanda, but you can say also I used to live in America, but now I am living in maybe Congo. It depends. So now you can say I used to live, means that this is a state, but you are no longer there in Kigali. You are now in Rwamagana. So when you are using this way of showing your past state, but it's no longer true, you can use I used it to. The second example, you can say she used to play football when she was a child. You know, many people have many habits. Maybe it's the habit of going to church, but now they don't go there. Maybe the habits of praying like a child, but now they don't do it again. Maybe it's like to go somewhere, but they don't go there. So maybe I can say, I used to, you can complete now. So, but here you see, you can use, I used the to talk about habits. For example, the second sentence, it is a habit, but first, it is a state. For example, I can say, I used to go clubbing. I used to go clubbing when I was in university every Friday. But it means that now I don't go there then. So because it was my past habits. So while I'm still talking about use it to, it is possible to use would instead of using use it to, especially when you're talking about the habits. So let's go to how you can use other things too. But here you must use it to talk about habits. Second, for the state which are no longer true. For example, I used to live in the countryside, but nowadays I live in Kigali, or I live in a city, I live in a town. So you can say many things, right? So that's why we are explaining more details. So also you can use be used to. So this is not the same as used to. You know, when you're using used to, it is not possible to put into present tense. No, you cannot say I used to go to church. No, that is not possible. You cannot say I used to play football. No, but here we can use be used to show something we are familiar with or something we are accustomed with. So that's why it is very necessary to know how to use used to very well. So the usage, is that what I said, is when you are showing that you are familiar with something. For example, maybe you can say that when I was starting my job, for sure I was not used to waking up early in the morning, but now I'm used to it. So that's why it is very necessary to care about this. So for example, you can say, but before that, we can say the some structures. So be used to, it is possible to put in the present and it is possible to put into the past. For example, you can say, I am used to, he's used to, she's used to. Even you can say that I was used to, or the people they were used to. So that's why it is very totally different to the used to. We saw that used to, we use it for habits, but here we're showing something we are familiar in the present. So don't use something you are familiar and say like it's the habits. No. If it is the habits of the present, there's another way you can use it. If it is in the present, you can say, I usually go to church. Instead of saying, I used to go to church. No, that is not correct. But you can say that I am used to working. Meaning that you are showing something you are familiar with. The other rule is because after used to, you must use gerund. But in the past, we saw that we can follow it with infinitive or basic form. But here, you see that you can follow it with noun first. Second can be gerund. I hope from today, you are going to talk about something you are familiar with by using this. For example, you can say, I'm used to waking up early. Means that it is in the morning. Of course, there are people that who are not familiar with waking up early, like 6, 5, 4. Yes, but maybe if you are familiar with it, you reconfirm it. If not, you can say, I'm not used to waking up early. So this sentence also it is possible to put into negative. You can put into negative. You can ask a question. It's like, are you used to doing sport, for example? So it means that we can talk about everything with be used to. Another example, you can say he is used to cold weather in Canada. In Canada sometimes it is freezing, but you can talk about this like someone is used to cold weather. It means that cold weather, it's a noun, of course. If it is a noun, that's why we don't need gerund. We don't need the ing form of the verb. So there, you can say someone is used to. You can put there. So even, there are some places also which is hot. You can say he is used to the hot weather as the opposite of this sentence. So that is how you can use it. I encourage you to try to create your own sentence. Even you can put it down in the comment. I can check it for you if it is correct. So let's continue then. Let's come back on how you can use get used to. So get used to, it's a bit different to I am used to, because here you are going to talk about something you're familiar with. You see, something you are becoming familiar. Today, you are not familiar with it, but in the future, you think that you'll be familiar with it. Or in that time of the present time, you think that you are gonna be familiar with it. That's why it is very important to care about this, of course. For example, you can use subject, get. You can say I'm getting, okay, if it is In this time means that you are in the process of becoming familiar of something. Maybe you can say is getting, if it is someone else. Maybe you can say I was getting used. So this sentence, it is possible to put in the past, it is possible to put in the present, it is possible to put into the future. For example, I can say I'll get used to doing something. You get used to doing something means that you will be familiar with something, right? So that's here, it is very important to care about the structure. Don't do mistake of saying like, I get used to work. No, it is not correct. At least you can say I'm getting used to working, because if you say to work, structurally it is not correct. But I hope today you are going to be updated about this. Also can say I'm getting used to living in a big city. You know, when a person is coming in a city, it can be strange and sometimes it can be hard to adapt himself. But here means that you can say I'm getting used to living. Yeah? Means that you are becoming familiar with living in the city. So I encourage you to use this word because it's very important in the life of speaking. You know, we are normally we use we show something we are able to do, something we are familiar with. But if you think that you are not familiar with something, you can say I'm not used to something. But if you are becoming, if you are becoming familiar, you can say I'm getting used, and follow it by gerund. And also you can give like this example. She got used to new school quickly. Maybe you're talking about the testimony of someone, how he got used to school. Yeah, so you know when you are going to new school, like in a boarding school, maybe in hostels, maybe anywhere else, you think that it's not easy to become familiar with it. You can say this when you're showing your experience of the past. I got used to new school, means that is the past. So I hope now, of course, you are going to use it. So now let me give you a short summary of what I said in a few minutes. So you don't have to spend much time. No, it's a short video that shows you that is going to improve your speaking skills. For example, we said how to use used to. Okay, quick summary. We saw how to use used to, be used to, and get used to. First, we saw that for used to, we used it for habits, past habits or past state. We saw that you can use familiar with something is to be used now, to be used to something. And you can say get used to when you see that you are in the process of becoming familiar with something. So there you can use get used to. Remember that, be used to and get used to, you can use in the present, past, or future. So those are some examples I showed you, so you can try to use it. So by closing my session of today, I'm going to give you at least 2 expressions in English, how you can sound fluently and how you can use that expression, especially when you're in a conversation, you have friends, when you're with someone else who you know that is fluent in English, you can use this expression. I'm going to give you not many, but before that, I have something for you. So before that, you can write down the comment, one sentence using used to, another sentence using be used to, and the third sentence you can use get used to. Remember that you are going to use it, and you are going to write it below, and I will check your sentence. I'll correct you and I'll give you feedback. So let's continue to what I said before. I'm going to give you 2 expressions you can use in English, or what you call idioms. Those are words people cannot be familiar with quickly, but today you are going to know it. First is to miss the boat. Do you know this phrase called miss the boat? This idiom in English we use to mean that, can you guess? you're right. So this is to miss an opportunity. You can say like, I wanted to apply for a scholarship, but unfortunately, I missed the boat because the deadline was last week. I'm sorry. So now you can say that also, you should have bought those concert tickets earlier. Now you are sorted out. Maybe you missed the boat again. I'm sorry for that, because if you are using this, you're showing someone that you missed an opportunity. But I hope if someone told you this, you not be lost. You know that he's talking about that you missed the opportunity or the chance, or it's too late to do that. So now let's go to the second expression I promised you. Second expression is to pull someone's leg. This is an interesting. Maybe you can think that it's like to pull this leg, but not. It is to joke or to tease someone. Maybe it can be at work, maybe it can be at school, maybe it can be in a society. So remember that. It is because you want to pull someone's leg. It means that you want to joke him, you want to joke her. So let's see some examples. First example, you can say, oh, are you serious about the meeting celebrity? Or are you just pulling my leg? You see, this someone can tell you something strange and they think that is joking. So you can say, are you just pulling my leg? So you can use this phrase. It is very good in English. Also, you can say, for example, you can be someone who is telling you something, maybe looks like imagination, and after telling you that story, maybe can tell you that, don't you know that your brother got an accident now? And you can feel scared, but after 1 minute, say, relax, I was just pulling your leg. So that is how you can use it. You can say like, maybe in a class, we used to have this in a secondary school or in a university where someone can come and say, today we have a test, but of course, it's just pulling your leg. And he say, just relax, I was just pulling your leg. There's no test today. You see, you can use these things when you want to mean that you were just joking. So this is the end of this video. You see, we used a shorter period of time, but you got a big thanks. And now you are going to improve your speaking. So I can tell you that thank you for watching. Of course, from today, you're going to sound like a fluent person in English, and you're going to improve your speaking. So I hope you will not miss the boat again. And always, if you want to joke your friend, you say that I want to just pull your leg. You can say that you are just pulling leg. Of course, you can say I used to, be used to, and get used to. So your comments are necessary in this video. You can reply, you can show your concerns, you can suggest the next course. It is fine. So thank you for watching.
Gana action, niba ushaka kwiga indimi, gana action, ushaka kuba umusirimu, gana action.